Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, ma'am, we can hear you.
So actually in the power system, a large number of synchronous generators are connected to the grid because the power system operates as a large grid. It is interconnected. That interconnection assures uh, power supply. That is, if there is some disruption in one of the generator, other will be able to supply. That's why, but that making the grid, which is made up of a large number of generators, different loads, and long transmissions lines, that involves quite complicated analysis because of the stability and uh, other things, and those will be discussed in your power system papers, but we are only interested in the generator. Now for synchronous generator, we have seen what is the characteristic of the machine. When it is operating as an isolated device. That is, if it is an isolated machine, that is a single machine supplying some load, then if we change the excitation, the terminal voltage will change. But we have seen that if the machine is synchronized with the bus bar, then as the bus bar capacity is very large compared to the machine capacity, so by simply changing the excitation of one machine cannot change the bus bar voltage. So the bus bar voltage and also the frequency is constant. So the machine uh, terminal voltage cannot change if we change the excitation. And if we change the excitation, what will change is the reactive power delivered by the machine. Now, synchronization, the process of connecting a alternator to the bus bar is called synchronization. Synchronization method we have discussed. Basically, the synchronization process is connecting the machine in parallel to the bus bar. Now, the conditions that has to be fulfilled are the terminal voltage of the incoming machine and the bus bar should be equal. The frequency of the incoming machine and the bus bar must be equal, and the phase sequence of the incoming machine and the bus bar must be equal. And we have discussed that how this can be simply assured by the simple method like two bright, one dark lamp method. However, actually, in the power system, the machine are not synchronized by this manual process. There are automatic synchronizing devices, but the condition what we ascertain here, that is ascertained by the synchronizing device. Now we will see the parallel operation of synchronous generators. So basically now we will consider when two machines are operating in parallel and supplying a common load. Now actually the condition for parallel operation is same as the condition of synchronization. That is, when we have to the two machines has to be connected in parallel to the load, then the conditions which has to be fulfilled as the same, that is the terminal voltage should be same, their frequency should be same, and the phase sequence should be same, and the process of connecting the two machines in parallel is also similar to the synchronizing process. So that I am not discussing anymore, but what we will discuss the what is the behavior of the machines when the two machines are operating in parallel. Only the difference is that when we consider the synchronized machine synchronized with the bus bar, then the bus bar capacity was assumed to be infinite compared to the machine. But when we are considering two or three generators, say in parallel, then actually their capacities are comparable. They are not infinite. The capacity are finite. That is the most practical cases. So in practice, in the power system, a part of the networks are operating like this. That is, say for our national grid, say for the each state, say for West Bengal, all the power stations are connected to the uh, by connected to the grid. Now that grid is connected to the national grid. That is a separate connection. So, and the logistics between the national grid and the local grid, that is a that process I am not talking about. We are talking about the smaller networks which will have a few number of generators with finite capacity operating in parallel. Then we will see what will happen if the excitation or the prime mover input changes. Now, say first consider we have two generator 1 and generator 2 operating in parallel. The EMF open circuit voltage or the induced EMF are E1 and E2, as they are connected, supplying a common load. So the voltage, terminal voltage will be constant. Terminal voltage is say V. Now, obviously the terminal magnitude of V as well as the frequency of the bus bar, that should be also constant. So the terminal voltage of the for machine 1 is V, machine 2 is V, and their frequency are also same. The frequency should be same. Now say for some reason one of the machines, say machine 1, accelerates due to some disturbance in the input side, that is from the prime mover side. So uh, as the field is on the rotor, so as the machine accelerates momentarily, E1 will go ahead of E2. That is now as a result there will be angle difference between these two. Now if we consider, for simplicity, if we consider for not in the practice, this E1 and E2 must not be same, and these machines normally have different impedances. But for simplicity, let us for simplicity consider that the machines have same excitation, E1 and E2. Then if it is at no load, that is that no it is not supplying any load, then E1 and E2 are equal, and with respect to the external circuit, the directions are the same, that is, they are in parallel. But if we consider the internal circuit, that is consisting of the impedance of the generator and the induced EMF, that is this circuit, then E1 and E2 direction are the same. So in the internal circuit, they are opposing each other. So in the main circuit, this is with load, say actually under no load condition, then E1 and E2 are equal and superimposed. And here in the external circuit, E1 and E2 will oppose each other by 180 degree, so cancelling each other, so no circulating current is flowing. Now, once due to some disturbance, E1 get accelerated, so this machine 1 get accelerated, so E1 will go ahead by an angle, say this is twice delta. Now in the, in the local circuit of the machine, we can express it like this, that is, this is E2 remains same. Initially E1 was here 180-degree opposite, but it has gone ahead. We are considering anti-clockwise as positive direction of rotation, so E1 has gone ahead by an angle twice delta. So as per our initial assumption, E1 and E2 were equal and they were 180-degree opposing. So internal circuit, no voltage was available, so no circulating current was flowing. But now E1 has gone ahead by an angle twice delta. So no longer E1 plus E2 is 0. So basically, EMF appears, ES will be available in the internal circuit. So in this circuit, EMF ES is available. So a current will flow in this internal circuit. Say if we define it by IS. So in this circuit, actually it consists of the resistance of the armature and the synchronous impedance of both the machines. Now we know the armature resistance is very small compared to the synchronous impedance, synchronous reactance. So the generator circuit might be considered as predominantly inductive in nature. So this current IS will lag the available voltage ES by an angle which is almost equal to 90 degree. So this will be position of IS. So in the main circuit, we have E1 and E2 separated by an angle twice delta, and so ES appears and a current IS is flowing which is lagging ES by 90 degree. Now, so that this, as it is, as I have told, that it is predominantly reactive in nature. So if we look into this circuit, so actually initially this is the position, this was a position of uh, this is the position of V. Then this was the position, this is the current flowing, this current flowing through the machines for I1 and I2, and we have considered E1, E2 and the impedances are equal. So I1 is equal to I2 flowing. The total current is I1 plus I2 is equal to IL. Now, as E1 has gone ahead, so now E1 position is like this E1, but the load has not changed. Total current will remain same. That is, total current is IL still, but so this current IS, in the circulating current, will appear. So in the generator 1, the current will be now previously I1 plus the circulating current, so I1 dashed. So V1 plus the drop, I1 E1 position will be like this, and for E2 it will be I2 plus IS is equal to I2 dashed, and I1 dash plus I2 dashed is still IL. So as the load has not changed, load reactive power consumption of load has not changed, so the current magnitude and the power factor angle, that is angle between V and IL, does not change. So what will change is the current which is supplied by the generator, individual generator. Summation remains IL, but the individual values changes. So for the generator who's has gone ahead for this, now that generator this amount of power, that is Vt into Is, that generator will create in the machine 1 will produce a power, that E1 into Is, which is supplied to the machine 2. The power Is generated by the machine 1 is supplied to E2. So the current supplied by machine 1 increases, and and the current supplied by machine 2 will decrease. So actually what happens, unless this disturbance is too large, this power, you can see that the uh, the machine which has accelerated is now delivering more power, and the machine which and that power is supplied to the other machine, so that it's uh, it gets more power, so that this basically this power has the capacity to the machines has the capacity to remain in synchronism unless there is a very large disturbance. So basically this is the synchronizing current, what we have discussed earlier. So whenever there is a disturbance, so even when two machines are operating in parallel, whenever there is a small disturbance, a synchronizing current will appear and creating a synchronizing power which has an inherent tendency to keep the synchronism intact. So it is not possible to destroy the synchronism if the disturbance is within limit. So the synchronizing power will decelerate the machine which has accelerated, and will try to accelerate the machine which was running at a lower speed. So the inherently it tries to remain in synchronism, and that is in case with synchronous machine always, and that's why it always when we go for how the delta changes with load, we will see that it oscillates around the actual value of delta, what we call hunting. It is a normal process of synchronous machine, and unless and until this oscillation is very large, the machine will remain in synchronism. That you have not done the electrical lab in the lab class. In the lab class, when if we you have ever any opportunity to work in the lab, you will see that whenever that synchronous machine experiments is going on, the supply of other experiments also vary over a very small range because of that hunting effect. It is always there, as our system is not infinite, so that hunting will affect the supply voltage. So if the machines are equally loaded, the synchronizing power developed is to reduce the load on the of the lower machine, and to increase the machine which is running at a lower speed, and it will uh, increase the load on the machine which is running at a faster speed. Actually, in practice, it is the machines are not identical. I have considered identical machine with E1 equal to E2, and impedance is also equal. But in practice, it is not necessary that the machine should be identical. So the machine will have different excitation. So E1 and E2 will be different. They will have yeah, different impedances, ZS1 and ZS2, and also different speed regulations. Now actually what happens, that the speed of the machine that is controlled by the speed governors, because the speed of the machine will depend on the prime mover input, and the prime mover input in turn depend on the input to the turbines. That is for thermal power plants, it depends on the steam flow, and in the hydel power station it depends on the water flow. So these has to be regulated to regulate the prime mover input. So the and that is regulated by devices which are called speed governors. Now the speed governors are type 0 type regulator. That is, it has got a drooping, normally it has got drooping characteristic, and that is with increase in load, there will be slight drop in the frequency or the speed. Now, whenever there is a increase in load, there will be a drop in frequency and an error signal is generated, and that error signal is utilized to control the throttle of the prime movers. So either the steam flow or of the thermal power plant or the water flow of the hydropower plant is regulated by these speed governors. So these speed governors, as I told, they have linear characteristic. So, and these characteristics can be shifted parallel to itself by adjusting the there are adjusting adjustment provisions in the regular governors, and so by adjusting the governor characteristics can be shifted parallel to itself. Now, from the figure what that phasor what I have drawn here, so if the terminal voltage is Vt, so from here the Vt will be E1 minus I1 ZS1 for the first machine. For the second machine, V will be E2 minus I2 ZS2, and that is equal to Iz, where I is the load current and Z is the load impedance, and I1 and I plus I2 is equal to I. So these are the relationship. So we can write E1 minus E2 E1 minus I1 ZS1 is equal to E2 minus I2 ZS2. So we can have E2 minus E1 minus E2 is equal to I1 ZS1 minus I2 ZS2. So from here we can express I1 in terms of I2 like E1 minus E2 plus I2 ZS2 by ZS1. Now, again from this relation, that is E1 minus I1 ZS1 is equal to Iz, we can write E1 is equal to I1 ZS1 plus Iz. So I1 into ZS1 plus Z plus I2 into Z, that is I is equal to I1 plus I2. Similarly, E2 is equal to I2 into ZS2 plus Z plus I1 into Z. Now in this equation, that is E1 is equal to I1 into ZS1 plus Z plus I2 into Z. Here if we replace I1 by this expression, so this will be E1 minus E2 plus I2 ZS2 by ZS1 into this one, that is ZS1 plus Z plus I2 into Z. So that gives us E1 into ZS1 is equal to is E1 minus E2 plus I2 ZS2 into ZS1 plus Z plus I2Z into ZS1. So expanding, we will get E1 ZS1 is equal to this E1 ZS1 minus E2 ZS1 plus I2 ZS1 ZS2 plus E1 Z minus E2 Z plus I2 ZS2 into Z plus I2 into Z into ZS1. So we can get this E1 minus, so if we take this expression on this side, we will get E2 minus E1 into Z plus this in this expression actually these two will cancel out. So what is remaining, this and this we take on the other side. So it is E2 minus E1 into Z plus E2 ZS1 is equal to I2 into ZS2 ZS1 plus I2 into Z into ZS1 plus ZS2. So your I2 will be E2 minus E1 Z plus E2 ZS1 by ZS2 ZS1 plus Z into ZS1 plus ZS2. Similarly, I1 we can get by substituting. It will be E1 minus E2 Z, E1 ZS2, ZS2 ZS1 plus Z into ZS1 plus ZS2. And total current I will be summation of these two. So this will be E1 ZS2 plus E2 ZS1 divided by ZS1 ZS2 plus Z into ZS1 plus ZS2. Terminal voltage will be I into Z. So this will be E1 ZS2 plus E2 ZS1, ZS1 ZS2 by Z plus ZS1 plus ZS2. So these are the relationship between the voltage, current, and the impedances. So these are all vector equations. So if the machines are different, induced EMF, different synchronous impedances, just put solving this equation, we can get what current they are sharing. Now, as I have told that as we have seen that the active power of the generator which supplied by the generators can be only changed when the prime mover input changes. The prime mover input actually controls the active power, and the reactive power is basically controlled by the excitation of the machine. So the regulator, that speed power or speed that governor characteristic looks like this. These are linear, it is frequency and power. So as the power output increases, the frequency falls slightly. So in this figure we have this shown how the power is shared by two generators operating in parallel. So this is the characteristic of prime mover 1 of the prime mover of generator 1, and this is the characteristic of prime mover 2, that is the prime mover of generator 2. Now say initially these two have these characteristics like this. So and they are supplying a load PL. So this supplying a load PL is equal to AB. So the output of generator 1 is this amount, output of generator 2 is this amount, not sharing equally. Now if we want to increase the output of generator 2, then we can that adjustment of the governor can be changed and it can be shifted upwards. Say this is the new position, PM2 dashed, this is the new position. Now from here it is obvious that unless we decrease the prime mover input of generator 1, then for the same they supplying the same load, this frequency will change, this line will shift. But if we increase the prime mover input of generator 2 and decrease the prime mover input of generator 1 simultaneously, then we can keep the busbar frequency constant. The frequency remains the same, but now the shared power will be power shared by the second machine is this, and power shared by the first machine has reduced to this. So basically your first machine initially supplied P1, now it is supplying P1 dashed. Second machine is supplying P2, now it is supplying P2 dashed. And P1 minus P2 dashed is equal to P2 dashed minus P2. That is, for first machine the power output has decreased, and for the second machine it has increased. say this delta P, and this delta P amount of load is transferred from second machine to the first machine. Now, if we do not decrease the prime mover input of the first machine, then actually this operating line will go upward, and what will happen, the frequency of the bus bar will change. So if we want to keep the frequency constant, and to when two of generators are operating in parallel, if we increase the input of one of the prime mover input of one of the generator, the prime mover input of other generator should decrease. Now, one thing also you can see from here, that if the slope of these governor characteristics are not same, then the generators cannot deliver the load proportional to their ratings. Actually, what amount of load they will deliver, that will depend on the load connected to the bus, but that is not proportional to the rating unless and until they have similar characteristic, or that is the slope of the characteristic are same. Now, see what happens if we change the excitation. So if we change the prime mover input, the our that active power sharing will change. We have not changed the load, so the total power which is supplied, that will not change, but the what amount of active power is supplied by the generator 1 and generator 2, that proportion will change. The active power sharing will change. Now, if we consider, let us consider what will happen if we change the excitation. Now, for simplicity, here I have considered that initially the excitation was same. E1 was equal to E2, and they were supplying same current also. I1 is equal to I2. So initial phasor was this. This is the supply voltage V plus that IZ drop is equal to E1 E, and E1 is equal to E2, and so current is I1 is equal to IT. Total current is IL. Now, say we have increased the excitation of generator 1, and simultaneously we have decreased the excitation of generator 2. Now, the current, when as we have seen that now in the internal circuit there is a voltage available, that is that E1 dashed minus E2. So there will be a circulating current IS which will appear. This voltage is this, so current IS 90-degree lagging. So this IS position will be like this. So it is added, IS direction is such that it is added to the machine which whose excitation has increased. So for machine 1 it will be I1 plus IS, so it will change to I1 dashed, and for machine 2 it will be I1 minus IS, so that it is I2 I2 dashed. So from here, as the load has not changed, so load current IL and the power factor angle theta V between V and IL, that remains unchanged. So what is changed? So the reactive power, total reactive power the load received, that remains unchanged, but the reactive power which is supplied by the first generator now increases, because this angle has increased and this angle has decreased. So the reactive power supplied by the second generator decreases. That is obvious, because for generator we know for lagging power factor we require higher excitation. So if we increase the excitation of one generator, that will supply more reactive power. If we decrease the excitation of the other, it will supply less reactive power. The total remains the same. Now, however, here I have increased excitation of one and decreased excitation of the other. So instead of that, if we just increase the excitation of generator 1 and does not decrease the excitation of generator 2, but these equations should hold good. So from here you can see that actually what happens in that case, the voltage, terminal voltage cannot remain constant, then terminal voltage will change. So if we increase the excitation of one and does not decrease the excitation of other, terminal voltage will increase slightly. So in case of when we consider synchronization, we considered generator connected to the infinite bus. Their generator capacity was insignificant to for comparison to the bus capacity. That's why when we changed the excitation, then only the reactive power which is flowing uh, supplied by the machine was only changing. Now here, as the everything is finite, so our total reactive power requirement is constant. So if we increase excitation of a particular generator, its reactive power supplied by it will increase. So the reactive power supplied by the other should decrease. Now if we decrease the excitation of the other simultaneously, then we can keep the bus bar voltage constant, otherwise bus bar voltage will increase. Similarly, in the for the active power is regulated by the prime mover input, which by turn is regulated by the throttle uh, throttles of the turbines. So and that are regulated by the governors which have linear characteristics. So there also, if we have two machines in parallel, then if we increase the prime mover by prime mover input of one machine, then unless we decrease the prime mover input of the other machine, the frequency, bus bar frequency will change. If we want to keep the frequency constant, then we have to decrease the prime mover input of the other machine. So basically the active power, sharing of active power and bus bar frequency, that is decided by the prime mover input, and the sharing of reactive power and this magnitude of the bus bar voltage, that is decided by the excitation. Now let us see two simple problems how we can calculate the sharing. Now for this problem, two generators are operating in parallel having the following characteristics. Capacity is 700 kilowatt, frequency drops from 50 hertz to 48.5 hertz at full load. And for the alternator 2, again capacity is 700 kilowatt, but the frequency drops from 50.5 hertz to 48 hertz at from no load to full load. So we have to calculate how a load of 1200 kilowatt is shared, and what is the bus bar frequency, and what is the maximum load that the units can deliver. Now, say these two are the governor characteristics of the generator. Now, for generator 1, it is seen we're told that 50 hertz, the frequency drops from 50 hertz to 48.5 hertz. So if this is a characteristic for generator 1, then this is 50 hertz, and if this is the rated point, then this corresponding frequency is 48.5 hertz. Similarly for generator 2, this is 50.5 and this is 48, and the rated voltage it is 48. So as per the figure, it is OB is 48, OB, that is for the generator 2, this is the operating point A. So this OB, this is 48, and for generator 1, this is the operating point D. So OC is 48.5. Now it is sharing a load of 1200 kilowatts. Say this is the point at which the machines are operating. So XY plus YZ is equal to 1200. Now consider the triangle A, B, A, AAB, the same thing, that is AAB, and this triangle AXY, this one AXY. So these are similar triangle. So we will have this XY by AB, sorry, XY by AB is equal to AY by AB. That is, this by this is equal to this by this. Now XY is the power shared for this particular load, and this AB is the rated. So this is 700 kilowatt, and this is AY will be AO minus OY, and AB is AO minus OB. Now AO is 50.5, it is given. So 50.5 minus, this is say operating as frequency F. So 50.5 minus F, and this is AO is 50.5 and BO is 48. So this is 50.5 minus 48. So from here XY is equal to 50.5 minus F by 50.5 minus 48 into 700. So this is the expression. Similarly, from these two triangles, that is BYZ and BCD, these two are similar. So similarly, for there we will have YZ by CD is equal to BY by BC. So we have the relation, that is YZ will equal to 50 minus F. Here this point is 50, this is F, and this point is 48.5. So 50 minus F by 50 minus 48.5 into 700. So this is the expression. Now, so this plus this is equal to 1200. So from here you can get the frequency. Frequency is F is equal to 48.58. So putting it in this expression, we can get the load shared. XY will be 537.6 kilowatt, and alternator and this will be 662.4 kilowatt. Next part is what is the maximum load which the two unit can deliver. Now when we are considering maximum load, that means none of the unit we can overload. So from these two slopes you can see that this one for 700 watt will be here, and for this one 700 watt is lower. So this generator 1 will be loaded or become loaded fast. So considering this is the full load, and so it is loaded fast, so that is corresponding to this line, that will be the maximum power which we can deliver. So considering this triangle and this triangle, by the similar way we will have CC dashed by AB equal to AC by AB. So CC dashed by 700 is equal to this one, that is CC dashed by this is 50.5. This is 50.5, and for this is 48.5. So putting the value 50.5 by 48.5 minus 50. This is the rated condition. This for this drag, this is at 48. So 50.5 minus 48, we get X with that loading, that is 560 kilowatt, and so the other one is totally loaded, so the maximum will be 1260 kilowatt. That is the maximum power we can that machine can deliver. You can see that the machines have same capacity, but they are not sharing the load proportional to their capacity, because their characteristic slopes are different. Now let us in this problem they have we have three generators. Three alternators are operating in parallel. Busbar frequency is 50. The loads shared are for alternator 1 40 megawatt, alternator 2 40 megawatt, and alternator 3 is 60 megawatt. That is for a particular loading condition. When first one is sharing 40 megawatt, second one 40 megawatt, third one 60 megawatt, then the busbar frequency is 50. Now the rating of each alternator is 100 megawatt, and the governance settings for alternators is such that the frequency drop from no load to full load. For alternator 1 it is 1.25 hertz, for alternator 2 1.5 hertz, and alternator 3 it is 2 hertz. How will the three generators will share a total load of 250 megawatt? What is the bus frequency? Now we have got three characteristics. Now alternator 1 and 2 are supplying the same load. So the characteristic must cross at that point. So this point is 40 megawatt, and corresponding to this the alternator 3 will have a 60 megawatt out. Now here these frequencies are unknown, so let us consider this is y1, this is y2, and this is y3, and corresponding. So for alternator 1, this y1 by 40 megawatt, which should be the slope of the line. So what is the slope of the line? The change in frequency from no load to full load is 1.25. So the slope of the curve is 1.25 by full load. That is frequency drop from no load to full load by full load. So 1.25 by 100. So from here we get y1 is equal to 4 by 10 into 1.25 is equal to 0.5 hertz. So this is 0.5 hertz. So actually this operating point, the operating frequency is 50 hertz given. So this point is 50.5 hertz. Similarly for alternator 2, this y2 divided by 40 should be slope of this curve. Again, slope of this curve is the change in frequency from no load to full load divided by the full load. So that is 1.5 by 100. So from here y2 we get as 0.6 hertz. So no load frequency will be 50 hertz plus 0.6, so 50.6 hertz. For alternator 3, similarly y3 by 60 is equal to slope of the curve, so that is 2 by 100. So your y3 is 1.2 hertz, so the no load frequency is 51.2 hertz. So for 250 megawatt load, the 250 megawatt load, say this is the operating frequency. So this first one is sharing x1, this is x2, this is x3. Now for the first one, this triangle and this triangle are similar as per the previous problem. So we will have 40 by x1. 40 is the load supplied for the previous case, and x1 is the load supplied for this case, is equal to y1 by 50.5 minus f, where f is the bus bar frequency for this load. So y1 is 0.5, so 50.5 minus f. So x is equal to 40 into 50.5 minus f by 0.5. Similarly, for the alternative 2, these and these are similar triangle. So we will have y2 is equal to 4 by 10 into 40 by x2 is equal to y2 by 50.6 minus f. So from here x2 is equal to 40 into 50.6 minus f by 0.6. Similarly, for alternative 3, this one, we will have this triangle and this triangle. So we will have 60 by x3 is equal to y3 by 51.2 minus f. So that gives you x3 is equal to 60 into 51.2 minus f by 1.2. Now x1 plus x2 plus x3 is 250 given. So putting these values, equating it to 250, we get the frequency f. So bus bar frequency is 49.44 hertz. So x1 calculated from this expression, we will get x1 is 84.8 megawatt, x2 is 77.3 megawatt, and x3 is 88 megawatt. So here also you can see that the power which the generators are supplying is not does not depend on the rating, because the ratings are same for each. We have 100 megawatt rating, but the power they are supplying are not equal. It is different. That is because their governor characteristics are different. If the governor characteristics are same, then only they can share power according to the proportional to their rating. So I'll stop here today, because we will start a new topic on the next class. So
Ma'am, will you share this note with us today?
এটা দিয়ে দেবো, আগের দিনেরটা কি প্রবলেম করেছিলাম দিইনি না, ঠিক আছে পাঠিয়ে দেবো, দুটোই পাঠিয়ে দিচ্ছি।
Okay, ma'am.